Hey everyone, it's Michael. Today I'm going to be talking about another Slappy book from Goosebumps, Most Wanted. This is number 2, called Son of Slappy, of course written by R.L. Stine. First thoughts, I like the cover a lot. I love the red and black color scheme. It kind of calls back a little bit, even though it's not the same art style as what Tim Jacobus did. It calls back a little to the original Night of the Living Dummy book, the first ever Slappy book that ever came out. But this cover and this title are so misleading. Because the title makes sense for the story that we get. The cover, this picture of Slappy with a tinier Slappy, is the biggest slap in the face that I've ever seen in my life. Now, mind you, I don't despise this book. I don't, absolutely not like it at all, like Nightmare on Clown Street, or feel like it's ruined entirely, but like Night of the Puppet People's finale, third act, whatever, was. Son of Slappy is such a weird book. It is like the 10th or 15th Slappy book. Like, I don't even know how many there is up to this point, even though I've read most of them, if not all of them, before this. Except for the ones in Horrorland. There's a couple of those that I haven't read, as far as I know, that he's involved with, but not the main focus of, as far as I know. But Son of Slappy, of course, Most Wanted, when it came out, they went back to just doing singular standalone stories. They didn't do what the Horrorland era of Goosebumps did, where they would have every book kind of tie into each other with the last couple of chapters of each book. Most Wanted went back to having individual stories. You could read any of them in any order that you wanted to, and nothing mattered because nothing tied to the last book. So that was great. I love this. It's like how Goosebumps always used to be, and in my opinion, how it should be, even though I'm not afraid to experiment with things like Horrorland and have some kind of era where everything ties in together. That's fun and good. Nobody has a problem with that. Son of Slappy is just not that good. Now, I do like Most Wanted. I think Most Wanted is a good series from Goosebumps. I know a lot of folks out there, especially people my age who are like 25 and whatnot, typically don't like the newer Goosebumps. A lot of them just kind of grew out of it. A lot of them don't give it a chance. A lot of them just prefer the old stuff, and that's fine, because the old stuff is kind of darker in my opinion, but the newer stuff does have its surprises, like Zombie Halloween. I liked Zombie Halloween a lot, which was a special edition from Most Wanted. The Haunter, I think like the first half of the book was really good, and then the second half really let me down. There is some really good Most Wanted stories. My favorite Goosebumps book as of right now is Goosebumps Wanted, The Haunted Mask, which was supposed to be the first book of the Most Wanted series. It still technically is, it's just not called a Most Wanted book. That, in my opinion, is the best Haunted Mask book. It is the best Goosebumps book. I didn't give it the highest rating of all time on my channel because of the weird problems that I have with that book. And if you've seen the review, you probably know why. That review is here on the channel in case you'd like to know what I'm talking about. But that's for you to go find. I'm just saying, with me, I like the Most Wanted era. It's not my favorite by any means, but I do like it. I do. Son of Slappy. Why is this book so weird to me? This book gives Slappy a new ability. There may or may not be more than one dummy in this book. I'm not going to tell you about that because I don't want to ruin anything for you. The book basically starts off with a fellow named Jackson, and he has a sister named Rachel. And essentially Jackson comes across as the very perfect child, whereas Rachel is always getting into trouble and stuff. But Jackson himself is not a kid who ever causes trouble, ever wreaks kind of any trouble or anything like that. He's such a pure-hearted kind of kid. He even volunteers at a youth center. Excuse me, my lisp got in the way. He volunteers at a youth center in his city that he loves to work at with younger kids and stuff, just to give them something to do, which is cool because there's not much of that in cities nowadays, at least where I live in Virginia. There's not a whole lot of that around here. There is some, but it's kind of dying out a little bit. It's more of a 90s thing than it is a modern 2019 type thing. I guess because of the way society is going and the way kids are. Kids don't really hang out and play in yards and streets now on bikes or anything like that. They play video games, and that's just where we are now. I think that has something to do with the youth center thing a little bit, but not to go on that topic too much, but with Jackson, he and his sister are told by their mom that they are going to go out to visit their grandfather. Kind of out in the middle of nowhere. He has no cell phone reception or anything like that. And the grandpa is a giant collector, which immediately hit people like myself and pretty much anybody who has read this book that is a collector of some sort, but especially us Goosebumps collectors. Not that I'm a merchandise guy, but a book guy. I love collecting Goosebumps books. I'm trying to do better about collecting it and build up my collection and have all of them and review all of them if God allows it. But the grandpa is a collector, and it made me feel weird because I'm old as a Goosebumps fan. So, I'm old. And, yeah. But the grandpa was cool. I like that character a lot. He also has this butler type person that works for him named Edgar. who is scared to death of this newer dummy that the grandfather had recently bought called Slappy. Sometimes he refers to him as Son of Slappy and claims that it's not the original Slappy, according to the legends that he had heard about all these crazy things this dummy had done. He calls back to the old things we know about Slappy from previous books, not like events like the bulldozer type stuff, nothing like that. But he calls back to like what Slappy is made out of and stuff like that. If you don't know that, I won't spoil it for you because I don't want to ruin anything cool for you. But he does call back to some of the information we know about Slappy from like Jimmy O. James, the character from Bride of the Living Dummy and Slappy's Nightmare. The grandfather was cool. Well, basically, when our main character, Jackson, and his sister get home, they happen to look in Jackson's bag, and he has Slappy somehow piled up inside of his bag. And nobody really knows how it got there. The thing is, with this dummy, Jackson thinks it's cool. Rachel thinks it's stupid. She doesn't care about this. Well, he starts messing around with the doll. He happens to find a card sticking out of its pocket. Of course, we as Slappy fans and Goosebumps fans know what this card does, what those magic little words written on the card actually will do. They're supposed to bring this dummy to life, but again, this may or may not be the original Slappy, so it may or may not come back to life. No matter whether this is the original Slappy or not, there is a power given to the dummy here that is kind of referenced in, I think, Slappy's Nightmare or Bride of the Living Dummy. It was one of the two, but I think it was Slappy's Nightmare at the beginning with Jimmy O. James' performance on a stage, that this particular power was kind of referenced, that it may or may not be a thing Slappy can do. I don't like it. If anybody's read the book, you probably know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read the book before, but I do not like this power. Up to this point, for me personally, this is my least favorite of all the Slappy books. That doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean it's horrible. That doesn't mean it's unreadable like, most of Nightmare on Clown Street, which is also a most wanted book. It doesn't mean it's like that. For me, it's more of this book. It starts out really good. I love all the collection stuff with the grandpa. I love the vacation stuff. I love the getting home stuff. I love the setups for what's coming. It's that power that gets in the way that really kind of makes this not feel like a Night of the Living Dummy story. It makes it feel not like a Slappy book. And I don't really care about tone and books and stuff. This is a kid's series, let's be honest. I'm trying to lower my expectations for what I expect, but there are some big highlights in Goosebumps. Like, Night of the Living Dummy 3 is so great. The original 2 are so good. Bride of the Living Dummy is good. Slappy's Nightmare, for the most part, is really great. There's some really high staples for the Slappy series, let alone the entire Goosebumps franchise since the 90s. I think it's okay to accept when you don't think a book, especially something as iconic based as Slappy, is as good as the rest of the Slappy entries or the rest of the Goosebumps entries. This is kind of a disappointing book. I read this once years ago, like probably 2012 or 13. It's been a long time. I think it was 2013 when the book first came out. 2013 or 14, somewhere in there. My grandmother hadn't passed away yet. She passed away in 2015. And I know I read this once, and I wasn't impressed then either. So I know it's not just a matter of being too old now, because, 2013 or 14 would have been roughly 5 to 6 years ago. So, I would have been like 18, 17, somewhere in there. And you can argue that that's being able to outgrow it, but I don't think so, because I'm still loving Goosebumps to this day. This book just rubs me the wrong way. It just doesn't feel as good as most Slappy books. And again, the new power kind of negates what makes a Night of the Living Dummy book a Night of the Living Dummy book. The kind of chaos that surrounds the dummies that are involved with this franchise. The kind of stuff that happens is always wild. And there's wild things that happen in here. But I personally don't think there's anything scary about this book. At least as far as I remember off the top of my head. The fear angle is not involved here. Whereas when you read something like Slappy's Nightmare, it's kind of terrifying. The kind of stuff that happens there that either Slappy is involved with and causing, or stuff that he actually prevents in that book. Because he's the main character of Slappy's Nightmare, if you don't happen to know that, from the Series 2000 books. But this book is not great. It's really not. I don't even know if I'd necessarily call it good. It's just as okay and fine and decent as it could possibly be. There is no tension, basically, here. It's just kind of trying to throw a plot twist here and there. It feels like one of those made-for-TV only episodes of the Goosebumps TV show. I don't know if you know this, but later in the Goosebumps TV show, they started making episodes that were not based on books. They were just for the TV show. This is what I would feel like if they were going to make one of these books, like a book like this or Nightmare on Clown Street, into an actual episode. It would just feel like it's just rushed and really moving too fast. You know, this book should have been a special edition, in my opinion, been little bit longer. We've never had a special edition of a Goosebumps Slappy book. Have you noticed that? We get things like Zombie Halloween and The Haunter and stuff like that, especially in the Most Wanted franchise, which I believe has the most special editions, which are longer books, like 170 to 180 pages. I think this book could have benefited from being a special edition, personally. But then again, what else can you do with the story by the time you get to the finale of this? For anybody who's read it, I don't think there's much you can do, because this already doesn't feel like a Slappy book. But even with that, again, it doesn't read right to me. I don't know what it is about this book. I just don't love it. I don't really like it that much. It's just okay. It's as okay and bland as it could possibly be. It starts out with high points like the collection thing with the grandpa and the vacation. I like all that stuff. After that, it just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't impress me. But anyway, guys, when it comes to Goosebumps Most Wanted number 2, Son of Slappy, I'm still irritated over how the cover art, not the title, but the cover art, is very misleading about what the story is actually about. That kind of pissed me off back in the day when I read the book. It pisses me off now because I forgot about it and I realized it this time reading it. But anyway, guys, what do you think about this book? Put your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this and the Most Wanted series and just Goosebumps in total. Do you think Most Wanted is one of the worst eras of Goosebumps? Do you think it's one of the best? Is it your favorite? Is it your least favorite? What do you think, guys? Let me know down below. If I had to rate Son of Slappy on a 5-star basis, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself, I would give this a 3 out of 5 stars. This is not great, it's not excellent, it's really not even close to that by any means, but it's certainly not horrible. It's certainly not, I guess there's some missed opportunities, but it doesn't feel like a giant missed opportunity. It feels like a new power introduction for a dummy that doesn't impress me. It really, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like the finale of the book or anything like that. It's just whatever, you know, it's really bland. But again, it's not the worst of the franchise. We can all say that with a clear conscience, you know what I mean? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the book down below. And may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today. Have a happy Memorial Day. That's what today actually is, the day I'm recording this and the day I'm uploading it. Hopefully, God willing. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank a soldier today. And God bless you again. And goodbye.